And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker of the day. Allan Rust is the creative director at ELB Learning, embarked on a diverse journey in the entertainment industry, where he will start the discussion on today. So with that, Allan, take it away.
So, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Allan Rust, creative director at ELB Learning. I do, as Liz said, have a storied past in entertainment, marketing, and advertising. And like many of us in this space, we come from a number of backgrounds. And I always find it interesting to hear what brought you to where you are today. And I'd say that officially I've only been part of the learning and development space for about 7 years. But as you know, career journeys are always evolving. What makes us unique and valuable in our roles today has a lot to do with the experiences and skill sets that we have acquired along the way. So, with that in mind, and because it's all about elevated storytelling, this talk, here's a little background on my journey to ELB Learning. I have 4 kids from the age 12 and 24, and not one of them has a clue about their ultimate career for the future. And hey, that's no big deal. It's extremely common. So as parents, we try not to worry. But I, on the other hand, grew up on my dad's farm in Fargo, North Dakota, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I graduated high school: get as far away as possible. The Rusts are a singing family, meaning it was a required task along with dishes and garbage duty. So I grew up singing, dancing, and eventually acting. When I turned 18, I moved to Los Angeles to further my acting studies, and then struggled for years to break into the business. There's a small margin for success in that industry, so you try to keep your head up as best you can. However, one of my good friends, Paul Rudd, you might have heard of Paul Rudd. We graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts together, and we shared the same manager for a few years. And I watched his career quickly take off and explode while I was doing summer stock theater in San Diego and Burbank, of all places. After a few unremarkable film projects, I became much more interested in what was happening behind the camera. So I went to film school, and on the side, I worked as a graphic designer. A few years prior, Adobe had released Photoshop 1.0. That's a long time ago. So I quickly became a computer geek too. I absolutely this opened up my creative thinking immensely. And yeah, 1990. This was back when Photoshop you couldn't even undo more than once, so it was very tricky. But it really opened up the doors for me in design. But before my filmmaking career or design careers had any legs, I got the call to reunite with a singing group that I had started back in high school called the Blenders. The group was recording at Paisley Park here in Minneapolis, and they were experiencing a creative clash. One of my closest friends left the band, and I had 3 days to pack up my life in LA to rejoin the group in time to get me on that album and reshoot the cover photo. That was one of many records we recorded over the years. We toured all over the country. We even had a Billboard hit in other countries. And it marks 35 years now together, and we are still doing a short tri-state holiday tour just over the Christmas season. That's all we do because we all have other lives. But this year will probably be our last. So that's another chapter closed. Anyway, during those full-time years, as I was touring with the band, I had plenty of extra time on my hands to study and build out a few more career paths. Designing albums and websites for the Blenders and other musical acts helped me land a senior art director position at an advertising firm. And this is where I really started diving into animation and interactive builds. Those skills built upon one another and landed me a producer role for the largest independent film and television distribution company right here in Minnesota called Mill Creek Entertainment, based right here. I worked on everything from DVD authoring, film trailers, promo sites, and finally developing some streaming platforms for the company. Then, out of the blue, in 2015, a gamified learning company called the Game Agency contacted me. Well, they contracted me to produce a promotional video for Intel called Drive a Tank. Intel teamed up with a World of Tanks maker, Wargaming, to produce a worldwide sweepstakes where the winner would be flown out to drive big historical tanks and even crash cars. This was a real trip. Since I was not allowed to place a camera anywhere near these things, I rigged a crane through the turret of a Humvee and rode the top of the roof to each of the shooting positions so I could be safe and still have an awesome view. This must have made a statement about my ingenuity and commitment because I was soon after hired as TGA's creative director. Then, a few years later, we joined forces with ELB Learning, along with a few other awesome companies. And now we're all one big happy family with something like 400 employees across the world. So what is that? Like, that's 5 career paths, I think, that I covered. You know, I always thought that the path to success was mastering a specialized role and sticking to it. And when I made that first career change, I have to be honest, I felt it felt irresponsible after going to school and spending all that money and time only to change gears and then change gears again and again. Even though I was following my passion, somehow it felt like I was, I don't know, losing momentum. But as we move forward in life and new paths are taken, we begin to see how each experience is actually a step that builds upon the next. I've found that by following my instincts and interests, embracing new technologies and opportunities, my path to success shifted from being a specialist to being a creative generalist. And it's become so empowering the more I lean into that generalist role. So while I never became a huge film star, I'm fairly convinced that I can kick Paul Rudd's ass in any number of skill sets, except maybe sexiest man alive. I think he's got that one covered. Okay, so that's my backstory. But what does it have to do with anything? I guess it's kind of to say that more than ever, it's important to be multifaceted. The world we live in today is rapidly changing, and to continue being successful, we all need to be agile. Maybe not to the point of changing your career every decade, but continually learning new skills and engaging with new technologies to bridge the gaps in our companies and for our clients. My role as a creative director at ELB gives me the privilege to wear many hats. So I get to draw upon that long list of experiences and skill sets every day, from development of our authoring software and platform authoring to custom course development and creative content. This includes live action video, animation, UX design, enhanced LMS embeds, and the list really goes on. Most of all, I have the privilege to help make our clients' dreams come true. I mean, it sounds silly, but I mean, sometimes that's what it feels like. Within the budget, of course, that's important. I'm also part of the growth and strategy team where we field many of our new business opportunities. We get to parse a wide array of client needs and source our best talent and resources. Best of all, I get to research and play with the latest tech offerings to see what's viable and what can empower ELB clients. And since our clients span a wide array of industries, I get the unique perspective on trends affecting them all. Today, we stand at the intersection of technology and humanity in a world where immersive modalities like extended reality and artificial intelligence are revolutionizing corporate training. I want to explore how we can balance these cutting-edge innovations with the essential human touch, making immersive experiences that not only captivate minds, but also touch hearts. I'll get to that in a second. Immersive technologies offer unprecedented opportunities to enhance learning experiences. The training sessions where employees can walk through virtual simulation of their workplace, experiencing real life scenarios without real world consequences. VR can transport learners to different environments and enabling them to practice skills in a safe and controlled space. AI can provide personalized learning paths, adapting to each individual's path or pace and learning styles. These technologies are now readily available to all of us and being implemented across all industries. For instance, in healthcare, VR is used to simulate surgical procedures, allowing medical students to practice without any risk to their patients. In manufacturing, AI-driven simulations help workers understand complex machinery and processes, reducing the likelihood of errors. However, as we embrace these technologies, we need to be cautious of over-reliance on tech itself. Technology can sometimes create a barrier to human connection, making learners feel isolated or overwhelmed. The sterile nature of purely tech-driven training can lead to disengagement and lack of emotional connection with the material. This illustrates the importance of balancing tech with empathy. At ELB, we offer all sorts of immersive solutions, but many times I find myself pointing clients away from the enticing new tech, like VR, for instance, as much as I want to employ it myself. It's exciting, it's fun, it's creative, and I want to exercise those skills, but sometimes it just doesn't fit. And this is largely due to the misframing of learning content itself and a lack of attention to the emotional impact to the end user. Empathy in learning is really about understanding and addressing the emotional and psychological needs of the learner. It involves creating experiences that are not only intellectually stimulating, but also emotionally resonant. When we design with empathy, we consider the whole person, their fears, their motivations, and aspirations. If these factors are ignored, then it's just new tech with a potentially bigger price tag. But when these things are taken into account, immersive learning is incredibly engaging. One way to achieve this balance is through storytelling. By integrating compelling narratives into immersive experiences, we can make training more relatable and impactful. To create a human-centered approach in immersive learning, we need to consider three key aspects. At least this is how I see it. Contextual relevance. Ensuring the content is relevant to the learner's roles in real-life scenarios. It sounds obvious, I know. This helps in making the learning experience meaningful and directly applicable. Emotional engagement. Use elements like storytelling, relatable characters, and scenarios to evoke emotions and build a connection with the materials. And then there's personalization. One example would be leveraging AI to tailor learning experiences to the individual's needs. An example, ELB has begun incorporating AI into e-learning course development to provide personalized learning paths, and it's a game changer. Modules infused with AI interactions allow independent assessment and feedback geared to each individual's strengths and weaknesses. But what really gets me excited is just how much more engaging everything becomes because it's personalized. You can take existing course content that's fairly bare bones, feed that content in as guardrails, then simply play test and tweak your parameters. If you do nothing else to the content itself, the increasing engagement, well, it's quite stunning, actually. I can't show you our clients' work in this area at this time, but there is a couple. Well, I'll show you one test example that I actually did a screen capture of me doing it. So hopefully I'll scrub through it and I can kind of show you what I did, which probably wasn't that good. But you get it. It's kind of nice to see an example of what I'm talking about if you haven't seen something like this. So right here, this is a a little example. So when clients ask, like, what could this look like in a very simple way, in just a chatbot way? This is the difference between categorical and quantitative data, a very basic material, but it gives us an example and it walks you through the differences. And now we get to the part where we get to interact. So I'm just going to scrub through here. Pick an athlete from a favorite sports team. In the boxes below, describe as many variables that you think fall into those two categories. Then click submit. So the first one, an athlete's categorical variables could include, and then I typed, now granted, I wasn't thinking that I would be presenting this, so this is just my own test. So race, gender, quarterback, passer, receiver, fast, injured. And then over here in quantitative variables, played 80% of the season, number of touchdowns, running yards, popular with fans. So now it's processing really quickly, and you get your feedback. Okay, race and gender are good examples of categorical data for an athlete. Quarterback, passer, and receiver could be considered more as roles or positions rather than categorical data. Fast and injured are not categorical data. They are more qualities or statuses of an athlete. For future examples, consider characteristics like handedness, playing style, or team captain. This is so fun because this is directly in response to what I've put in there. And it's different every time depending on what I do as an individual. I can go in here and show and see how my answers are increasing in validity. Okay, to the other side, the quantitative data. Good job. The data examples you provided are quantitative and relevant to the athletes. To improve, consider adding more specific metrics for running yards, total number of running yards in a season, and touchdowns, number of touchdowns per game. Keep up the good work. I love that there's just a little positive reinforcement as well. Let's keep going. One more. So stick with our example of athletes and see if you can pick the right category for these two. Choose the right answer. In addition to the answer, put what does it say? Your reasoning behind it. So an athlete's number of minutes appearing in commercials is an example of categorical or quantitative. What did I put? Quantitative. What's my reasoning? Well, again, I didn't know I'd be showing this. It's not very bright, but it's pretty straightforward. And that's something that can be counted or measured. An athlete's jersey number is an example of which? Well, I would say that is categorical. And what's my reasoning? Again, it's used to discern one player from another or call them out from the team. Not too in depth, but here's my feedback. You correctly chose quantitative as the answer. Your explanation that the number of minutes an athlete appears in commercials can be counted and measured aligns with the definition of quantitative data as being numerical in nature. Great job. Okay, great. The next one, your selection of categorical is correct. An athlete's jersey number is indeed an example of categorical data because it represents the label or category assigned to the player for identification purposes rather than numerical value. Now, this part, because it's kind of pick or choose the answer, but it feels like it's more on rails, but not really, because I gave my reasoning and it's kind of tailoring its feedback to my reasoning, which I think is just so much more engaging. The first time I played would use these examples, we have a few of them, and it just opened the door. I'm like, wow, what if I use some AI avatars to actually talk actually speak these answers. Now you're really feeling like you're one-on-one engaging and learning directly from someone. So this stuff is really exciting and can't wait to use it more. I want to move on to another example in kind of more the AI realm of visual art. And that is unveiling RSV. Allan, this is a game-based learning project we created in partnership with Chess, American College of Chess physicians. CHEST is a global association in chest medicine with over 22,000 members who specialize in pulmonary, critical care, and sleep medicine. They focus on improving patient outcomes through education and advocacy. With rising RSV rates, CHEST wanted us to spotlight RSV in a way that fit their broader strategy of developing or delivering bite-sized, impactful education. So we created a 20-minute game-based experience they hoped would feel a bit like the board game Clue. Unveiling RSV is an interactive mystery game that combines storytelling, gameplay, and instructional design. We worked closely with CHEST to clarify the core learning objectives and translate them into gameplay. The result is a single player game where learners act as medical detectives solving a mystery illness at a fictional mansion. The story is divided into 4 acts, each with slightly different gameplay tied to key educational goals. In Act 1, players explore the mansion, gathering information like viral samples and patient histories so that they can cross-reference them later. They also have dialogues with the characters themselves and get key information about attendees at the party that was at the mansion. This is ground zero for the illness. Act 2 focuses on synthesizing a vaccine through interactive puzzles, teaching players about how RSV works and how vaccines are developed. Balancing the fictional elements with real-world medical details was really important here. For example, while the setting is whimsical, patient symptoms and health risks were modeled on actual RSV data and best practices. All of CHEST projects that I've worked on in the past have associated these diagrams, which are very important to the learning objective. And we typically use them as knowledge checks. In Act 3, the player identifies at-risk patients based on detailed medical profiles. This brings home the earlier hunt for clues and viral samples. Now, our medical practitioners can use their critical thinking to bridge the gap between patients who simply tested positive and those who are at higher risk. And then Act 4, they communicate their findings to a hospital using a branching dialogue scenario. This is where much of the corrective and confirmative feedback takes place. Okay, now to the part that I really care about. Not really. All of that is great, but I like, how do we make this? That's what's really exciting. So behind the scenes, we wanted a photorealistic design, and rather than staging a costly photo shoot with elaborate costumes, I used AI to generate over 90% of the visuals myself to create the steampunk mechanics and turn-of-the-century atmosphere. For example, producing period pieces like dossiers and vintage machines would have been logistically challenging in real life to shoot, or even using stock images. Where are you going to find this stuff? So AI allowed me to create them quickly and convincingly. I was very new. This is I think this is almost 2 years old now. So I was very new to prompting for image generation at the time, and learned a valuable lesson. So listen up. This is important. Rather than prompting entire scenes in one go, it works best to create these creations in really small pieces, like designing individual props, characters, or objects as if they were stock art. So each little piece, that you can kind of see animating, make those individually, as opposed to trying to make the whole scene all at once and trying to check all the boxes that you need. So this requires a little bit of work. It allows more control, though, and it elevates your imagination. Character consistency was one of the biggest challenges, but being clever in Photoshop helps immensely with comping multiple renders into what you want. Especially nowadays, Photoshop has its own AI engines, right inside to further help with filling in gaps and adding prompt-based assets that you need to flesh out a whole scene. These cut scenes were animated in After Effects, but in the game navigation, it relied on large panoramic rooms where players could explore. AI allowed us to create these vast, traversable spaces that felt believable yet otherworldly, with hidden doors and vital objects to find, while garnering key insights from characters within them. I used the same technique for props and smaller interactive objects, which added layers of depth and discovery for the players. To create this world, we relied on a suite of tools, each with its own role in the development process. The project was authored in Articulate Storyline, but Midjourney was the main event, helping ideation, as well as generating the base imagery that we would comp together. I then took those images into Photoshop for augmentation and refinement, building each scene piece by piece. Another key to making this learning game inviting and engaging was the musical score. Now, I'm not going to mess with this and get all the music going right now, but I'll just say that it's a rich tapestry of Sherlock-esque style. If you've ever seen the BBC Sherlock, it has that vibe to it. And there's a unique piece for each room and scenario as well. So it's very dynamic that way. This, coupled with lots of intriguing sound effects and ambient sound design, made this project not only an experiment in world building, but also a lesson in how modern tools, especially AI, can reshape the way we think about game design and learning. Every room and character was created with purpose, using technology to bring this turn-of-the-century steampunk world to life in ways we couldn't have imagined before. Oh, and lastly, excuse me, losing my voice. All the voices, as I lose my voice, all the voices and the characters were performed by one person. That was also me. Now, why? Number one, because it's quicker to I'm readily available and I can change the script anytime when the client changes it. And we used AI and a tool called Respeecher to recast my voice print while maintaining the performance. So basically what you get is a performance when it comes to, now granted, AI works just fine, like text bots, if you're going to have a very stoic presentation, but these characters had emotions. They had lift in their presentation. It's a performance. So in order to get an AI performance, it made sense to record it and then have AI recast it into a different voice. So this is male, female, young, old, it doesn't matter. You get the same performance, but a plethora of voices to choose from. Now there's several other tools out there that can do this same thing now, but this is what I used at the time. The benefits of this is the quick turnaround, as I said, fast retakes for client changes. I'm going to play a few cutscenes now from other projects where I was the voiceover artist, the sole voiceover artist. And I use the same recasting performance for these characters. I figured this might bring up some conversations of what do these sound like. So let me just take a moment and let you listen to some stuff while I drink some water and get my voice back. Here we go.
Microsoft Learn cloud games are breaking the mold. Enjoy the thrill of solving real-world challenges in immersive role-playing games that help you sharpen your technical skills, like our newest game, Who Hacked?
Here at Best for You Organics, we ensure that all our suppliers meet the same exacting standards of the original Jackson family farm, where Abigail and I grew up, because caring is in our DNA.
Today, Best for You Organics is an ever-expanding retailer controlling every single step of the supply chain. And that's why we need team members like you on board. Ready to get your hands dirty? Then welcome to our team, Best for You Organics.
Hey, did you hear? We just got hacked.
This could destroy our company. So none of us are going anywhere.
Can you spot the hacker?
At 9:02 this morning, this landed in my email. Deposit 5 million Monero to the attached crypto address.
This is so bad. I knew we should have gotten cybersecurity insurance.
Actually, if we had, this would have automatically triggered an outside investigation and we'd have no control over when the news was leaked.
What happens now?
We can't afford to let anyone outside this room find out what's happened. Get comfortable, everyone. We're locked in here until Andrea's team finishes their investigation.
I have to admit, when you agreed to this interview, I was expecting we'd be meeting at your corporate headquarters.
It was Olivia's idea to take this little field trip.
Olivia, tell us about this place.
This is actually where it all started. The site of our original family farm.
It's very impressive. And since this will be the cover story in a special issue devoted to companies making sustainable changes, it's also the perfect backdrop to talk about your company's history.
But it's not just us, Lauren. We have a very talented and dedicated team. I hope you'll take the time to get to know them too.
I'd love to.
Hey, morning! Don't worry, you're not in trouble. I just wanted to catch you before you got to your desk. There is a new alert in Defender for Cloud I need you to take care of. The problem is, there's a journalist writing a piece on the company, and she is in the office right now.
Microsoft Learn Cloud Games continues to offer the most innovative ways to sharpen your technical skills while challenging you to solve high-stakes, real-world problems with our latest game, Data Feeds.
Thanks for bearing with the extra security protocols. As you'd expect, there's no getting this far without them.
Thank you for joining me today and more broadly on this critical mission. They know nothing, correct?
As you requested.
This mission began with a single baked potato, uneaten, scraped into the garbage by my daughter several months ago. On most occasions, I wouldn't have given it a second thought, but on this particular day, I had just been reading about the starvation in Haiti brought about by the earthquake. Over 40% of the food produced in the United States is wasted.
Your initial focus will be here, on grocery stores. Hospenu's grocery stores are quite antiquated from a data perspective. Your first task will be to simply assemble a model of their purchasing data. From there, you'll build a stepwise bridge towards the ultimate objective of the Preserveron initiative, using data and AI to actually reduce food waste.
And create jobs.
And generate profits.
You haven't a moment to lose. Begin.
Oh, we can't hear you, Allan. You're on mute.
There we go. This is, how are we doing on time? Because I'm not watching the clock. I apologize.
You have about 10 minutes until the session's over.
Perfect. In a recent project, we developed this VR training program for cybersecurity using our own scenario VR platform. The goal was to improve overall awareness and infuse best practices at the weakest link, people. A typical training module might walk you through the do's and don'ts of cybersecurity, which quickly becomes either boring for those who are more technical and too technical for those who may be new to the material. In either case, you can lose your audience. Instead, we created a series of interactive scenarios where you play the part of an undercover agent, posing as a hacker. So essentially, we flipped the script, allowing learners to not only engage from the opposite point of view, but fully embody the persona behind the attacks. Each scenario was designed with rich narratives and emotional cues, further drawing learners into the material. I'm not going to go into this too much further, even though I wrote a lot about it because we're running out of time. But I guess I wanted to just show that, for the most part, just the VR and how it can be used in ways that isn't exactly what most people think. The importance here is that learners lean into this material because I guess they felt that they would lean into this material more because of the framing, because the framing is compelling. And I guess that's the real takeaway. Generating more immersive training has less to do with the tech being implemented and more to do with the framing of your content in a compelling way. And I don't mean using storytelling devices to support your content. Instead, use your content to support your story. And there's a big difference there as it carries through to the final build, whether it's chat-based knowledge checks or immersive XR experiences. New tech is cool, for sure, but story, well, story is king. Training shouldn't be like George Lucas's dialogue, big exposition dumps, just too much information. We're human beings, and instinctively we resist big cognitive downloads. Good storytelling and content framing makes you feel something, and that drives engagement. Finding ways to convey information while supporting a character's journey is the key to maintaining engagement throughout the learner's journey. Immersive learning technologies hold immense potential to transform corporate training. However, to harness this power effectively, we need to strike a balance between innovation and empathy. Designing with a human-centered approach allows us to create immersive experiences that not only captivate learners' minds, but also touch their hearts. As we move through this exciting landscape, I think it's important to remember that the most effective learning experiences are those that connect with us on a human level. Let's leverage technology to enhance, not replace, the empathy and connection that are at the core of effective learning. Well, thanks for joining me on the journey, and hopefully there's some time left for some Q&A.
Yes, I was going to say we have plenty of time. We do have about like 3 to 5 questions that we can kind of take a stab at
Sure.
that are through the chat. But Amanda Jones, there was a lot. The chess piece project was definitely a vibe in the chat. Everyone thought it was super cool. But the main questions were, how many hours would you say went into developing this module, and how many people, and like the historical deep dive, and just a lot of that. I wanted to know a lot more context about that.
Yeah, so we had a very, very short, small crew and a very small budget as well. I believe this was done with, I hope I don't misquote this because I don't talk money much, but I believe it was like $45,000 to $50,000 for this 20 to 25 minute seat project. The team was really small. I was the only creative on it, other than our game designer, and I guess the client came in with an instructional designer as well, and they came with a good sense of where they wanted to go with it. But there was very few people on it, and that's what was so exciting about AI. I was able to generate most of the stuff myself, and it is a showstopper because it's like surprising that we were able to do it, and in a very short amount of time too. We worked so quickly because we had to, and again, it was a new process for me too. So that just goes to show that you can, I did do some late nights because I was new to it. So I did spend probably more time each day on it because it was new and I had never prompted before for imagery. Again, this is like 2 years ago, maybe not 2 years ago, but a little while ago, and it's a lot easier now. Now I know kind of. I'd love to do a deep dive on how to best prompt and how to best build. Maybe we can do something like that in the future. I absolutely love showing behind the scenes and kind of getting dirty and showing those things off if I can.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of the questions are specifically on the chess project, and kind of onto that note. But this one I thought was really cool. Malin had asked, she loved it, like the project, but how would you be able to do that in multiple languages, specifically? Yeah, I was going to say she's a team of one, like I think she said 13 languages. So that's something of interest. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, part of it is, if you notice, none of these characters had lips moving, which, would have blown the budget a little bit. That would have taken a lot of time. So that's why we opted for the other reason why none of the cutscenes have them talking with their mouth is because, or also have the characters they're kind of more like pose, as opposed to fluid movement, which we certainly could do. The reason we did that is that in storyline, that's how we did it as well. We had just kind of like a few poses. And so I wanted the cutscenes to feel just about the same as the actual storyline build. And for the language piece, it's just like anything else you do in storyline. You'd have to re-record those voices. Now, that also kind of elevates the budget. If we had to do multiple language, we would probably have to resort under that same budget. We would have had to resort to text prompted or text to speech AI. You probably wouldn't get the same inflection and the same quirks and character styles that we were going for, but that's what pushed us towards this, allowing us to be a little bit more creative with how they spoke, because we didn't have to do all the languages. But that's how you would probably approach it in that way when it comes to language.
Fabulous. And a big question was a lot on like the tools that you used and that kind of stuff. And so we probably only have time for that one question. So I want to summarize, what new tools or services are you most interested in seeing in this demonstration? Like, that kind of stuff. What kind of tools?
Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. I was reading something from Jessica. She was asking about how long did it take? We didn't say that part. So we did have, I believe it was a 6-week window from concept to execution. We're doing something similar with chess right now, where we're doing an escape room. We did one last year. I would have loved to show that as well, where we did a digital escape room, which was very fun, but also a physical one at the same time. So they would do it at their conference in physical format, and then we'd have a digital component. And balancing that and having to build those at the same time is quite interesting. But what was the question you were saying? I'm so sorry. I shouldn't even look at the comments because I can't listen.
Everyone's so excited and happy. Honestly, actually, there's another question. I know I already asked one, but one last question that I think we wanted to touch base on, besides all the cool tools. I think you'll get some pokes after this on more about your tools and stuff. So in the very beginning, when you were showing the example of the LMS, they were asking, was that the ELB LMS? And is these answers feedback created by AI when you were initially with the quarterback and the football, like that demonstration?
Oh, yeah, that wasn't an LMS. That was just a one-off build of an AI tool. And I can't take credit for any of that because I wasn't on that. Actually, that was just an individual that put that together, that wanted to showcase what you could do. We have a few of those types of examples. I need to find the link. It's possible that we could share that out for people to test and kind of get a flavor too, and kind of get that wow moment of like, wow, this is so cool to have that back and forth vibe. So I don't know how it's being contained, and I can find that out. But what's interesting, I'm finding out as I poke around more and more that use Google and look for AI tools, because there's so many free trials or even free tools out there where you can code up something like that, where it just works. You don't even need to know how to code anymore. It's great. So you've got an idea, you want it executed, tell the chatbot what you want, and follow it down the rabbit hole, and you've got yourself. I mean, now it's all about your imagination, and we have like these worker bees, AI tools that can execute for us, and it's really, really exciting times right now, for sure.
Beautiful. Well, your inbox is about to be full with all these numerous questions that we have to still address, but we are out of time. So is there anything else you'd like to say with the audience before I let them know how to get to our next session?
No, just I definitely will field any questions offline. for sure. And just to reiterate that, like, again, these tools are really uplifting and really exciting. Don't get like excited about the shiny object and start, focusing on the tech. Focus on the goals, your learning objectives, and figure out how those learning objectives can be told in story format, because that doesn't require tech. I mean, I've as we know, like, you can have a good live instructor who really brings the material to life. That's what you should be focused on, is how to bring my material to life, not the tech, because the tech is, you're going to be able to do that, and someone's going to be able to help you, or AI is going to be able to help you, but really focus on how you're telling your story, because I think that's the most empowering thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And as everybody else in the chat, this was a great and inspiring session, Allan. So I am also very grateful, but as well as the chat. So thank you so much.